life been looking gorgeous. Take one day at a time, I pray I never have to force it. Got bad women for me, tell they man he need to forfeit. I'm standing with the torch gripped in my hand, I'm hella calm, the other palm hold my fortune. I live ready to die, my mama hate me sounding morbid. Growing up, my daddy got caught up in chasing fortune. He'd probably be more proud if I was doctor or a lawyer, but I'm paid to be aligned with only living in the moment. And I can't have my target, want me locked behind these bars or in a spot that I can conquer. But fuck it, cause we living, my nigga. And I'm addicted to feeling like I'm invincible. Take the bag, then I triple it. The flow been on the pinnacle, vivid dreams of a miracle. Where I made it out of bind. Lately I'm so out of mind, it's hard to wanna go outside cause they been killing off my kind. But I gotta hold my head and keep it loyal to the players. Don't let them rob you of protection of yourself. Niggas lying for a check, I call it bribing for the flex. To the label, drop your ass, the bank collect on your advance. Tread more lightly cause the man don't give a fuck about your plan. To see the world, to feed your fam, the block is hot, it's hard to stand. I'm from the cold, when he talks, but on the low, they got the stove. Some had a baby, still ain't eating, though they crab stuck in a bucket, trying to make it out the street shit. How we make it where we at, but trace the bloodline back to Eden. I'm a menace, a remnant of the pandemic, got the mask off, I'm flap jaw, taking no L's, I'm at the coattails to the cash cars. Yeah, right. Taking no L's. I'm on their coattails with the cash cars. They really not who they claiming. They talking foul with the cap lock. My heart is cold, keep it padlocked. My mind is coated in Kevlar. They sent the shop, but can't stick me. I dropped the ball in my lesson. I dropped the class with the schedule. I can't afford to be bored, but a couple of bros me through the school with degrees. Can't let an interview, they pay more than the minimum wage. They pull up suited, but they talking about them dreads on their head. And it be their resume, they can't say their name. That shit is shame, and system got it easier. They claim she need to relax. Got a couple kids, a single mom, they laid her up back in March. She lost the crib, they sent the SWAT to throw her back to the street. That it freeze and rent the stimulus, won't even see her address. I'm thinking cash rules everything, they got us by the culture. Spend a couple of racks to keep the art scene posting. When we ask for what we owe, they wanna talk like they ain't got it. Sign an X-Man at a lower rate to help them bag a fortune. So we torch it, we burn it all down till y'all get it. Bitch, I'm native to this sand, don't give a fuck about no pilgrim. When the police at my neck, my brother hanging by a branch, and I can't even pay his bond because we stressed the dollar thin. Tell me how we supposed to win, huh? They selling dope to keep us clothed to pay the rent, huh? A lot to hold, but I ain't fold, I'm still on 10, huh? Toes planted in the soil, getting hard to keep it cordial, but that's just the way it goes.
As fast as you can. As fast as you can. I could really get away.
We're in our final round of this particular championship, folks. This is the Daytona race course here for the final round of the Asphalt Kings over in season number 4. Thank you very much for being alongside me, James Otter, alongside, of course, Adam Reed, for what will be, no doubt, a very interesting race ahead of us at one of the most iconic circuits on this calendar, the Daytona race course. So, Adam, going into this final one, it's the final round of this championship. There are only 2 people left that could potentially take this crown. I am wondering in this final crown, as we take a look at the standings here, who the person is going to be that takes this crown, because it is between the 2 people, and Jonathan Spiteri. And, Jonathan Spiteri showing immediately that he has the pace, but Denzel Agius is looking to take his second crown in the Asphalt Kings. So, question for you, who takes this one? Is it a new crown, or is it existing glory?
It's going to be an interesting one. Hello, James. Welcome. This is going to be an absolute barbaric race. Well, I mean that in nice terms, but I think this is going to be superb. Jonathan Spiteri and Denzel Agius have been 2 fantastic drivers with their own caliber. And then you've got Daniel Mallier there in 3rd place. Ayrton Birmingham has been there or thereabout, but the recent shuffle around where he finished 4th last time at the Nürburgring, that did not go to plan whatsoever. The dramatic scenes over by the Eifel, Eifel region. So it'll be down to these top 2 to take it on. But I definitely think that you're seeing 2 fantastic drivers, no matter who wins it tonight. John Paul Vella on 102 points in 5th place, followed by Christian Sam. Clint Orland makes his way up to 7th after a fantastic 5th place. And then it's going to be David Mifsud ahead of Osbert Schroeder, with Owen Cassar, John Falzon de Bono, Spiteri, Barbara, and Grimmer and Page. That rounds out your 15 drivers that have taken part in the Asphalt Kings this season. And what a season we've had. And on to the circuit, because it is one of the most iconic circuits in racing, for sure. The World Centre of Racing, as it is called. There's been some fantastic events, such as the NASCAR Daytona 500 and the 24 Hours of Daytona.
So, I mean, look, the bottom line is we're going to be heading into this campaign where, after a campaign of chaos and courage, we do arrive now at the coronation, where the crown of the Asphalt Kings will await its ruler. Question is, though, if you are just tuning in, who is going to be your favourite? One thing is for certain is that the person that's shown the most consistency by far has been Jonathan Spiteri, leading the way. Of course, following on from that, the really intense championship that Denzel Agius has brought, especially in his race pace. Perhaps it is his qualifying pace that has let him down and is the reason why he is in this runner-up position. But what does he need to do here in Daytona, where the Lexus is not likely to be top of his game here? What does he need to do in order to try and battle and take the crown right out of the hands of Jonathan Spiteri and take it right back as well after winning it in season 2?
Well, he's going to have to hope for probably outside assistance, to be honest. Of course, Spiteri needs to be a little bit off his game, to be honest, if he wants to, not win the title. But, as long as Denzel Agius is in that top 2, he's got a great chance of winning the title tonight. It's just all about down to whoever can almost kind of perform the best on this racetrack. And it's not an easy racetrack to go about, of course.
So before we head over, we're going to take a look at this calendar and let's do a little retrospective view, shall we, here, Adam? It's been one hell of a season, obviously now approaching in this 8th round of this particular championship. If you remember, all the way back as early as middle of July, we started at the Suzuka circuit before taking a trip to the fictional Kyoto driving park in the Yamagiwa prefecture, heading over to the Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps, then the break where I wasn't part for the Circuit de Saint-Clair in France. And then the Red Bull Ring Deep Forest Raceway, the Nürburgring, where, of course, again, we had that really intense spot of rain towards the end, which was really exciting. And then now here we are at the Daytona International Raceway. We are heading through into what will be, no doubt, an extremely intense race ahead of us. But we do have qualifying coming up, 15 minutes of it in just a few short moments. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're here then for this next round of this particular race. It gives us an opportunity before we get straight into qualifying to have another look at the map, because we are in for what is going to be no doubt a very, very intense race weekend ahead of us. We are expecting there only to be 28 laps in this particular race. Expected pole lap is to be somewhere in the region of around 1 minute 45, low 45s to the sort of high 45s is what we would expect. So, you know, with the 13 corners around this particular circuit, the drivers are almost certainly going to be getting themselves readily excited for this particular one. You may notice, though, just as an FYI here, Adam, we have a new racer joining us. And by new racer, I mean someone with a bit of an OG legacy status. We've got Kyokudo Racing. This is the ex-champion, I believe, of Season 1, Daniel Vella. He joins us here tonight for this particular race. It's a special race event, is the Daytona International Raceway, so no surprises here. He's decided that he wants to have a go at this one, and immediately, this is just practice, by the way, he's showing his pace.
He is. He is super quick. You know, Kyokudo Racing, of course, has been put into the kind of the Hall of Fame of the Asphalt Kings. A super quick driver, and I mean ridiculously fast. Myself and Jake Sperry have commentated on him in previous times gone by, and it's been fantastic to see. And you know, the speed that he has in the car and the trust that he has in the cars is pretty much second to none. It's been incredible to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he can mingle amongst the top maybe 5 now, because of course you have your kind of Spiteri, Agis, Malia, Birmingham. These are drivers that have been always kind of in the top 4, of course. Some have had their kind of off days. We've seen in the likes of Deep Forest and Birmingham at Spa-Francorchamps. I think you can definitely rustle up a few feathers here, and that would be superb interesting to see how he can maybe mess with the championship. To be honest, I can really see that happening, because he won't care. You know, he will not care that whatever's going on in that championship battle. He will care about his own race, and I'm sure that he will be looking ahead to try and see if he can maybe claim a win around this famous Daytona race.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the bottom line is that he is going to be seriously excited, ready and raring to go for this one, because, of course, he hasn't got anything to lose, so it could end up upsetting certain parts in this particular championship. We've just finished practice now, so the drivers are now getting themselves ready for this now, the qualifier. So we've got people just leaving the pit lane. We've got Daniel Malia, his Daniel Vella just now leaving the pit lane as well. So Kyokudo Racing himself, would be interesting to see where he places himself, but if practice has got anything to go by, he will be up there to say the least. So he's the first person straight out on circuit, leaving the pit lane across the International Horseshoe. So question for yourself here, Adam, then. So Kyokudo is known, you know, for his sort of, you know, consistency. It's the reason why he managed to deliver a championship. So the question is will he be a little bit rusty? Will he need a bit of WD-40? Or is he going to be straight out there showing the pace?
I think that WD-40 has already been applied during the practice session. You know, Kyokudo Racing is someone who's, you know, really adaptive when it comes to his racing, and he knows how to handle a race car in Gran Turismo 7. It's been an absolute pleasure to see. So I think throughout this qualifying session, the final touches of WD-40 will be applied, and then he will be able to go out and maybe put in a banger lap to see himself potentially on that second row. I think we'll also go for a flying lap on board with our reigning champion. So it will be really exciting to see, and I'm honestly looking forward to this one. Do you want to take us through, James?
Yeah, why not? I love this circuit. It's one of my favourite circuits in the Americas. He's already going to have to serve a half-a-second penalty, though, for completely obliterating turn 11 at the Le Mans chicane. So he now approaches NASCAR 3 and then NASCAR 4, where then he'll have to serve that half-a-second penalty right now, which means he has to lift off, which will actually cost him all the time across the front stretch, as he will then start his lap right now. As he approaches through into turn number 1, it's immediately a bit of a lazy corner, this left-hander here, because it comes at you quite late, so you'll want to go for the later apex, chuck the car through this left-hander, and then head approaching towards turn number 2, where you will see there's a little bit of pressure on this car as you then approach into the international horseshoe. You'll want to go for the later apex here, and that's exactly what Daniel Vella has done. Here he comes then down towards dogleg. Now the dogleg, again, a little bit of a lazy corner, this one. You can try and keep it as flat as you possibly can through here, and that's exactly what he has done before he approaches into the other horseshoe, the west horseshoe. Chucks the car through the right-hander and a bit more of a mid-apex as you would expect through this particular corner. You'll get on the power as early as you possibly can as you head through into turn number 6. Again, a little bit of a late one here. You'll want to try and go for that early apex there, because then what you could do is go a little bit out wide to chuck in for this apex of turn number 7 before you get into NASCAR 3. This is where turn number 8, you'll get up on the camber and try and keep as close as you possibly can to that yellow line without going onto it. If you end up missing your camber on there, you will spin out very quickly indeed. That's turn number 9, now approaching into the Le Mans chicane. Now this is where Kyokudo end up losing time immediately out the blocks after cutting the chicane here. Here he comes here, much more cleaner on the entry and exit of turn 10, a little bit rusty through 11. We'll see if he's got away with that one. I think he might be just fine. Coming through turn number 12 and then into 13, where of course he will now be flat to the floor as he approaches the front stretch and of course the start finishing line. Remember, we're expecting sort of low to mid 145s as pole position. Here he comes then across the line right now. It's a 1 minute 46.7. Plenty of pace yet to be found, but he definitely lost all that time when serving his penalty on the outlap.
But this is something that is quite painful as well. It's all about endurance around the circuit, and already putting in the purple sector is Kyokudo Race. But look there, look at that at the top. John Paul Vella going to the top as well. I do wonder if how that's going to turn out.
Yeah, we'll have to see there as well, as hopefully we'll get your microphone a bit higher on the sensitivity there, Adam. So we'll see what happens there later down the line with Kyokudo going 4th fastest. But he has set the first purple sector now here, so that will be one to just keep a firm eye on. Fastest person, though, at the moment, John Paul Vella, looking particularly sharp out there at the moment. Of course, that's his... not sure if there's any relation to Daniel, but his... co-compatriot was sharing that surname in 4th place. Chris Sammer in 5th. Denzel Agius, by the way, that's the man in 2nd place in this championship. He is 6th at the moment. His co-compatriot in the fighting for this championship is 2nd. So a little bit of a gap there for the Lexus. We're not expecting the Lexus to be particularly poignant through here, Adam. But he needs to be at his absolute best here, does Denzel Agius, if he wants to have any chance of putting Jonathan Spiteri under pressure for this championship.
He does. He really needs to make sure that he's on top of absolutely everything. Giving a push to Daniel Malia, you see down the back straight, you'd see, and just trying to see if he can get anything out of what is possible, because he needs a good position, especially when he said that the Lexus isn't very good, and he's got himself up into that 2nd place by pushing Daniel Malia all the way up through the turn 3 and turn 4. That was a very, very risky way to go about it as well. And he put himself 14 thousandths of a second ahead of just behind Daniel Malia. But that also means that he's now got himself, we've now got 17 thousandths of a second between the top 3.
That is going to pose as a little bit more of a critical thing here, because that is a good opportunity for the drivers to keep up the pressure. So, as I'm going to be trying to keep a very firm eye on Jonathan Spiteri, who seems to be catching up to the back of Falzon del Bono. So, Jonathan Spiteri flashing the lights to just try and get past the man currently well down at the moment in the qualifying in P10. Jonathan Spiteri lost time in the third lap that he did, but still ample opportunity to improve on laps. In fact, he's gone purple in the second sector. So Jonathan showing he's got the pace to potentially put Malia under pressure. Denzel Adjus, by the way, up to P2 now after his set of laps and only 14 thousandths of a second down on Daniel Malia. That's more like it. But we do have a lot more time still on the table.
You're still looking for that any piece of advantage you can get over the rest of your competition. You see the beautiful, colourful Ferris wheel there in the background. It's an absolutely brilliant sight. But what's also a brilliant sight for Jonathan Spiteri is that second purple sector is putting him in a position where he can go and put himself in the perfect place for his championship tailing race, which could potentially, as I say, see him crowned under the lights here at Daytona. Go to second place, and what a stunning lap that is. But it's surprisingly John Paul Vella showing pace in these last couple of moments. So he's definitely got the setup all topped up and perfect. Look at the gaggle of cars here as well. So this is all a bit of a battle of slipstream as well. You get the dirty air in that kind of second sector, but as you exit turn 6 and 7, that's when you'll find all the slipstream is coming in through turns 2, 3 and 4 of the NASCAR oval layout.
Yeah, John Paul Vella at the moment is actually at the bottom end of the expected lap times, or top end if you want to talk about how good it is. Oh, Daniel Malia actually colliding into the back of John Paul Vella there. Not sure if there'll be any damage on that car, but that'll be one to keep an eye out on as well. We've also got Owen Cassar just tucking in behind in the Toyota Supra. So, yeah, the toe is going to be fairly critical, but if you get too close, you'll end up being affected by something like that. And there goes John Paul Vella getting past Denzel Adjus, who's really holding up the Toyota engine in that Lexus. It's just no power whatsoever, and that is going to cost him all this time on this part of the this track here. Of course, the back straight, which then leads through the set of corners here at the Le Mans chicane before heading then onto the back straight of NASCAR 3 and 4. So that is going to be a bit of a critical issue here for Denzel, especially in the race paces. We've just got Kyokudu going third fastest as well. It's the Season 1 champion, showing he's definitely got the pace now as he closes up the gap to around about 0.4 of a second to the leader, about 2/10 rather, to Jonathan Spiteri. Plenty of lap time still to be found, though. Plenty of qualifying yet to still happen as well. Just over 5.5 minutes.
And those 5.5 minutes are going to be some of the most crucial laps that we see during this session. You know, the fuel is burning down, the tires are starting to really feel the energy going through them, the removal of the rubber being placed down on the racetrack. This circuit is ever evolving, but it will get to a point where it's down to the driver to extract those last couple of points on the racetrack. Can you maybe just let brake later? Can you accelerate earlier? How is your confidence feeling in that race car? And they top up the fuel just a jar, so they manage to get everything out of it. There is Ayrton Birmingham right now in the BMW, the Roxy inspired livery as well. So it seems like he will look to go out on a high, but will 6 be the best position he's going to go for? I think he can get a little bit higher, but that is such a tight group. You know, a second separating the top 5, top 6 if we want to add those last couple of digits.
Yeah, the crown jewels will be passed over from this man himself, of course, Ayrton Birmingham, to one of 2 drivers here tonight. Denzel Adjus down in 5th, or Jonathan Spiteri currently on the front row in 2nd place alongside John Paul Vella, who's looking so confident out here tonight. Remember, I think he took his last race when John Paul Vella, if I remember correctly, was Kyoto, I want to say. We'll double check that one, actually, just to make sure I'm absolutely certain on that one. Either way, he had the pace definitely at Kyoto, where this particular circuit, is quite similar in that way, in that aspect, because in fact, pardon me, sorry, it was Spiteri that won that one. Actually, I've just looked at my notes. Either way, he had the pace, and he has got the pace here tonight to potentially show some serious credentials here, especially considering the championship hunt that's happening with Jonathan Spiteri and Denzel Agius. They are going to have to fight for this one amongst all the other drivers, because they're not running riot at the front. There are those drivers that are showing some serious pace in this qualifier.
Indeed they are, and I do wonder, are these the right times to pit? Bearing in mind, you don't have a lot of time left on the board. You have about 3 minutes, so you're probably looking at just a singular lap in all of this, with the laps being, about a 45. You are looking about just a singular lap, so it will be interesting, and look at everyone just in that small gaggle. You want to be the one maybe where I'm going to say Daniel Mallier is sitting, that yellow Pennzoil car, Christian Samet trying to get out of the way, because you're just trying to find a gap where you're not too close to the car ahead, but you want the slipstream, but you're not too close to the car behind, so you're giving them major slipstream, and you kind of don't want to be bouncing off between the two either. That's going to be one of the main factors in this part of qualifying.
Yeah, fair to middling season for Chris Samet as well, actually. He's been sort of in the ballpark, but I just don't know if he found any confidence on power in that Mercedes. So that's probably one that he will sort of develop as he goes through the other championships in Gran Turismo 7, because no doubt you've potentially got a championship winning hopeful later down the line in Chris Samet just this season, just showing that he hasn't quite got the pace that he perhaps is looking for. We are on now with just 2 minutes to go left in this qualifying session. Now, Jonathan Spiteri still in second place, Denzel Agius in fifth, John Paul Vella still leading the way as well by a considerable margin, as well as he's actually getting, in fact, he's actually holding up Denzel Agius, would you believe, in the Toyota, the Toyota powered Lexus. The McLaren giving him a lovely tow, actually, as he's now approaching the top, and here comes the start line. No improvement from John Paul Vella. Denzel Agius now rising up to fourth place, getting really up close and personal at the moment. I'm not entirely sure if Denzel kind of knew, I kind of knows how much time he's got left here, because to be honest with you, he is not really setting himself up for success here.
I'll let you know here, James, this is the last lap for these two. This is the last lap, and Denzel's messed it up. Denzel's messed it up on that second horseshoe, and that is going to be it. He's going to qualify as high as fourth. Only 2 drivers have qualified for a second lap. One of them is, I believe, David Mifsford down there in 7th. Who do you think the other one is, James?
Well, I think I'll let you answer that one.
It's Jonathan Spiteri up there in second place. Oh, there he is. Actually, surprisingly, he's. I thought he would get a second lap. No, it's the 2 right at the front of the queue. So, directed. If you can find the 2 at the front of the queue, just heading in towards the Le Mans chicane, those are the 2 cars that have managed to get a lap in. So we're just scrolling through now. Seeing if we can potentially find these 2 drivers. Potsy's going to be the first one onto the scene. He's going to be able to get a lap time in here. So we'll wait until to see if the checker flag will fly, and just watch those 2 cars up at the top. They will be getting their second laps in, but meanwhile the first will be going to David Potsy.
There it is then. So David Potsy, Dave Potts, otherwise known as David Mifsford. Now he's coming across to the start-finishing lineup with the last lap of this session, and he has set his fastest lap on the final occasion, going to 7th fastest. Here comes John Paul Vella. No improvements for him, so he stays with that 1:45.4, which is a great lap indeed. Jonathan Spiteri looking to try and improve, but can only go P2, but it's a great effort, only 88 thousandths behind John Paul Vella. Where's Denzel Agius, my friend? He is P4. He couldn't improve on his lap either, so it's all about those people currently now going through the second horseshoe, and I believe they are towards the back of this qualifying session. They are still on laps at the moment, so if Mr. Director could send us over potentially to P9, P10 maybe. I want to see if it's any of these. Is it the likes of Clint Orland? No, it's not. So who is it that's going around now the turn 7, turn 8 complex, I wonder? Be interested to know, because they are on laps that are falling out of sequence with everyone else. One of them, actually, here he is. One of them is actually the other Spiteri man himself. And just trying to keep a firm eye on that one, just to confirm. Here he comes with a 0.141 seconds up here in the Mercedes, looking to try and get himself within touching distance potentially of Osbert Zwereb. He is looking to try and set improvements as well if he can help it. I'm keeping an eye on the guy behind, because of course he's getting a nice little tow as well in the process of that one. Marlon Spiteri looking to try and get close to potentially the man that shares the surname. Can he get anywhere near, or will it be somewhere within the midfield? Clint Orland only being in P10 is a bit of a shock as well. Kyokudo is just behind as well. He's actually well within sequence to get a nice little tow. He will not improve. Where will Kyokudo go? It will only be P3 for the previous champion. Not a bad effort indeed in the end. So top of the board is John Paul Vella from Jonathan Spiteri. Then you've got Daniel Vella in P3. Denzel Agius is P4. He has not had a bad qualifying session, has Denzel Agius, but he is behind the team, his rival in the championship, and Jonathan Spiteri. So what does Denzel need to do if he wants to apply the pressure on Jonathan to try and take this crown out of his hands?
John Paul Vella, his first pole position in the series, and look at that! The three McLarens making up the top three, with Spiteri ahead of Kyokudo Racing. So Daniel Vella is going to be a man on a mission. Denzel Agius qualifying fourth. He's happy with that one, I think, with Daniel Malia there in fifth. Then it's going to be Christian Samet and Potsy, with Ayrton Birmingham there in P8. Moving down, Joel Folzono de Bono in P9 ahead of Clint Orland and Ivan Birmingham, with Oscar Schwedep, Marlon Spiteri and Owen Kassar will round off the 14 drivers that have entered this Daytona road course race here for the Asphalt Kings round 7. It's going to be a fantastic one, James. I think we're in for an incredible race. Interested to see how strategy is going to go. Interested to see how everything else is going to pan out, because that top four looks mega. It looks so competitive. I think you can also throw in Daniel Malia in there, and I think Ayrton Birmingham will be a little bit disappointed. But before we go to our break, a big thank you to our collaborators, being Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist. Thank you to all of them being part of this incredible production made by Velocity Esports Racing.
Yeah, it should be an absolute cracker, because nonetheless, we've obviously got a really competitive front four, but actually towards the back as well, we've got people like Clint Orland only in P10. That 911 is usually a lot faster than that one, so he's going to be a man on a mission as well. So actually, there's going to be some real competition right up and down the grid, and that race will be kicking off in just a few short moments. Don't go away. Right, we're just a few short moments away from this race. Let's take a very quick look at a quick reminder at those standings, because this is it. We are going to be crowning our champion of the Asphalt King Season 4 Championship here on Gran Turismo 7. The question is who is going to be on top? Again, let's have a quick reminder at those standings. It's going to be interesting just to simply focus on the top two, if you don't mind, Brandon, because it is about Jonathan Spiteri, 144 points. Denzel Agius on 127. So, answers on a postcard, folks. Can and will Denzel Agius put enough of a gap between himself and Jonathan Spiteri to take this crown, or has Jonathan Spiteri already got one hand on the trophy, Adam?
I think Spiteri does have that one hand on it, because, of course, Denzel Agius needs to be in that front too. And already you're seeing the dominating manufacturer being McLaren. So that Lexus is going to have to require a bit of extra help if he does want to get through this final round. But there you're seeing the standings right in front of you. They will be potentially changing by the end of tonight, especially that kind of group on the side. expect that to see a few changes by the end of the night. But it's that top 3 that we're focusing on. Daniel Malia no longer able to win this championship. It'll be down to those top 2, and we now head for green here at Daytona, and we are about to now go racing. The drop of the green has gone, and Daytona is flooding with lights and flooding in towards the horseshoe we go as the race for the championship commences.
Yeah, no more waiting. Let's go racing, folks. John Paul Vella is leading the way from Jonathan Spiteri. No issues whatsoever. Great effort from Daniel Vella as well, who's had a really good start in P3. Denzel Agius in P4 from Daniel Malia in P5. Chris Samet is in P6 from Potsy. And then there is the crowning champion, Ayrton Birmingham, under pressure already. I did say Clint Orland would be very unhappy with his position in qualifying, and he's already made one position up against Falzon Del Bono, and he's trying to continue that pressure on the pink BMW. That is Ayrton Birmingham. He's now just approaching turn 6 and 7 outside of the West Horseshoe, just past it. He's now heading towards the next set of corners. Here's NASCAR 1 and NASCAR 2. Clint Orland going to continue the pressure, getting a lovely tow off of the back of the BMW. It's a more thicker car, isn't it, that BMW, so it's going to offer more of a tow around here as Clint Orland effectively pushing him now around this particular circuit. Here they come then into the Le Mans chicane. Is it going to be a late breaker from Clint Orland, or are they going to match each other going into this corner? It looks like Clint Orland not going to put any pressure just too hard yet, but onto the grass he will go, and understeer he will have. As a result, he now loses that position, and Falzon Del Bono puts him under pressure in the Nissan GTR, and he's got a 1 second penalty.
Oh, that's going to be horrific in the opening stages here. Clint Orland, who looks so strong in the last couple of rounds, but it just hasn't materialized. This is now where he's starting to end up here, as Falzon Del Bono has gone past him. Oh, that's Ivan Birmingham budging his way past the Porsche that's meant to be in all scarlet red, with Lewis Hamilton on the side of it. Unfortunately, that's not the way the Porsche was wanting to go. The livery's not there, unfortunately, for tonight, but hopefully he'll come back with it in the future. Overall, he's down into 12th, and we're going to see a fired up Clint Orland, I think, for the rest of this race. And we look into the mid-pack and see that Owen Kassar has made his way up into P10, because that is a fantastic start as well. And a purple sector for Chris Samet. He's not doing too bad, but he needs to get on the move here. Dens is also a man on the move. He's down to 5th from the start.
No pressure for Jonathan Spiteri at the moment. Denzel Agius down to P5 after Malia getting the overtake on him on this lap. So Jonathan Spiteri could just hold station. The math in my head says as follows: if, and this is a big if, Denzel Agius does manage to win the race tonight, then all Jonathan Spiteri needs to do is finish P6. And that's it. He's champion. So as far as I'm concerned, in this scenario, Jonathan Spiteri, let's be candid, has got that one hand on the trophy. So if he just has a calm race and doesn't have the little struggles that we saw cracking in I believe it was Switzerland, that could be an opportunity for Denzel Agius. But as long as that he just manages his own race pace, Spiteri is going to be within touching distance.
Indeed he is, and it's just going to be all about trying to really focus on your race at this moment in time. I'm surprised that John Paul Vella has pulled this much of a gap, because he's not been a driver that has been significantly up at the top. He's been around about 5th place in the majority. He was 6th place at the Nürburgring, and now finds himself leading this race here. As looks like Spiteri is down to 3rd place, but he can relax for now, because as long as he finishes his race, it will be the championship for him. Denzel Agius does need to finish in that top 2. Look at the move in the back there. I think that's also Clint Orland getting up the inside of what looks to be Ivan Birmingham in the background there. So he's back up into 11th. He's hoping to push on, but what is going to be the points that he can gather in this race, because it's going to be a tough ask, I think.
Yeah, 60 points in the championship, Clint Orland, actually rising from the standings after the Grand Prix, the race at in Germany in the Nürburgring, losing the rear ever so slightly, inviting Ivan Birmingham into a little bit of a battle right in front of him. Owen Kassar in the Toyota Supra. Back towards the front, though. Kyokudo Racing is now into P2. Jonathan Spiteri has lost the position to Daniel Vella, of course, the previous champion last time out. And here comes the other Daniel Malia, now putting putting the pressure. He's had a great toe on Jonathan Spiteri. Is he looking for it? No, he'll bump draft him. Going into the Le Mans chicane. He'll do it again going into the Le Mans chicane. Here comes the corners. Try not to get on the grass too hard. Very well taken, actually, from Malia in the GTR. This could be a real pressure here, as he then may have to go around the outside. He'll continue to bump draft Jonathan Spiteri, but I will be honest with you here. Jonathan Spiteri's initial pace here is showing that he is actually either on a more of a nature of trying to relax the car and not put too much pressure on, or is he finding that there's a lot of comfort being stuck in a little bit of a sandwich between the two Daniels here. Here he comes then going through at the top of the hill, starting the next lap of this corner, going into turn number 1. Around the outside they will go. They go side by side through here. Jonathan Spiteri trying to put the pressure on Daniel Vella here as he continues on the pressure. Oh, Spiteri losing the rear. He'll now approach into the international horseshoe under a little bit of pressure here potentially from Malia, but Malia electing not to make any kind of overtake. But the gap has opened up ever so slightly. The GTR going to continue to put pressure on the McLaren.
For a second there, I thought that Spiteri was going round. Malia was all over the rear bumper of that McLaren, and I think he's trying to invite his way in. Remember, Spiteri at this moment in time just has to finish this race. That's all that he needs to do. As long as he finishes this race, then he will be champion, unless Denzel Agius can put himself into that top 2, which doesn't seem likely for the moment, because, you know, if he's being passed by a Nissan, then how far is he going to fall back? He's already dropping towards the clutches here of Mifsud in P6 here. I think Malia is going to try and go for a move. Do you do it into the Le Mans chicane? I don't think so. I don't think you do that whatsoever. Kyokudo looks a little slow on this main straight as well. Bang! Into the back of Spiteri goes Malia. That was a little bit of a troublesome one as well. But that Lexus in behind is now to crawl back up here. But that battle for second is heating up drastically.
And look what's happening behind. While this is happening, we've got a rogue Lexus of Denzel Agius closing down the gap on these front 3, and he'll be very happy to swallow up any positions lost if any person gets into any kind of collision. Here they come then into turn 1. We've seen people going side by side through here. They're bump drafting each other, going through into turn number 1. They're getting closer and closer. Jonathan Spiteri looking to get later on the brakes, sends it down the inside on the Kyokudo Racing. He will not get the move done, will Daniel Vella, though. He's going to try and hold on. Will Jonathan Spiteri go for the dive? Daniel Malia said, I'm not having any part in this one. The two will continue battle for P2. They're still bump drafting each other throughout this circuit, and they will continue racing hard. While they're doing that, they're actually catching up. Jean-Paul Vettel at the moment up in P1. So now he's going to start getting into this potential battle if they keep battling the way they are.
Indeed he is. He's really pushing on here, Jean-Paul Vella, and it's been fantastic to watch here. What is Daniel Malia's next move? I think that's the main question on my list. Depends on Nissan really working hard to see if he can work his way up to that bumper of Spiteri in that cockpit will be feeling pressure for sure. His business for the moment is just to keep it on track. But I've noted with the two McLarens, if we have a look at those two McLarens at the front of the field, Kyokudo and Spiteri, just notice the top speed of Kyokudo, because look at that, how much he's slowing on this straight. So I think Spiteri is using less downforce. I think more to Kyokudo's McLaren. So I wonder how that's all going to pan out each other on the way through the slow corners. Kyokudo seriously saving fuel as well. So it's not just that. On towards this next lap here, James, this is going to get tasty. What is the next chess piece maneuvers going to be for each of these 3?
Look at Spiteri, he's getting closer and closer, going through into turn number 1. May go for the dive once again, going into turn number 1, maybe turn 2. The gap is there, but electing to try and hold station. I think they're trying to calm down this race now, all the 3 of them. They knew it was starting to get a little bit hairy out there, so they will now take their time as they approach the international horseshoe once again for the 6th time in this race. 40 minutes to go until we crown a champion, folks, as it stands so far. Oh, there with Jonathan Spiteri again, losing the rear ever so so slightly. He is not finding any comfort out there, but he is setting purple sectors. This is a daft thing. It might not look comfortable, but if he's setting purple sectors, he's definitely inviting himself into this battle, as is Kyokudo against the man in P1, John Paul Vella. Again, he's starting to creep into the frame here, and that means that this is no longer becoming a battle for P2, but I think it potentially is becoming a battle for the lead of this race imminently, and that may just invite a little bit more of a tasty texture to this particular battle. Here comes Daniel Malia. He has shown some serious pace in the Nissan GTR this season. This is a car that can get around the Nürburgring in less than 8.5 minutes. We know this. So this circuit is going to be no issue whatsoever. Here he gets closer and closer and closer once again as he heads into the Le Mans chicane. They're going to want to try and keep it as late as they can, but in the end electing again not to look for the move into the Le Mans chicane. They want to try and hold station, but he knows he can get the power down a lot earlier because he's braking that just that little bit earlier is Daniel Malia. So then he will begin now the power as the Nissan will power its way around here, turn number 8 and turn number 9. Turn 12 and 13 rather, as they get towards the front stretch. Here comes Jonathan Spiteri getting closer and closer. Are they going to look for the move? He's got plenty of time here, has to potentially look for the move, but he gets off the power. Does Jonathan Spiteri? He's very comfortable to stick in behind as he gets bump drafted by Daniel Malia. It's a Daniel sandwich. Around the outside he will go. Jonathan Spiteri going to be off of the podium as it stands as they go side by side, going through into turn number 1, into turn 2. Spiteri holds on. The three of them are starting to get a little bit leery again.
There's a brave attempt there by Daniel Malia, and I think that Spiteri is just at this moment in time trying to really hold the position down. He's not doing too much attacking, not doing too much defending. He's just trying to keep himself in a certain into a certain zone where he's just holding down that P3. He doesn't need to be shuffled out, but he's got a bit too deep there. He's allowed pressure, inviting Daniel Malia to potentially slide on in here, potentially look for the overtake as well, but in towards turn 6 and in towards a 7. Malia all over the back of Spiteri, and at this point you're thinking, do I just go for the move? Do I just do it? This guy is dropping time to the back of Kyokudo, and I really do think that at this moment in time, yeah, you see the flash of the headlights as well for Daniel Malia. Is he going to go for it this time? Nope, he's going to bonk the back there of Spiteri, not move ahead because he's trying to pay this to a tactical intention.
Remember, Daniel Malia's got his own little fight in the championship as well. Of course, he's not racing for the title, but to be within the spot of 3rd place would be absolutely fabulous. Of course, remember, Ayrton Birmingham struggling down in the depths of P8 at the moment. Denzel Agius 1.9 seconds now back from this little battle for P2, as it looks like John Paul Vella has just started to notice the little creeping nature of this pile of 3 drivers, has elected to just start pulling away once again. Gap now of around about 1 second as he starts his 8th tour of this particular circuit. Kyokudo finding himself under a little bit of pressure from Jonathan Spiteri rather, as he goes through here, and you can see once again they're all up close and personal. Could look for it going into the horseshoe here. Will they look for it now heading into this corner, or will they hold station? Once again, the 3 of them electing that just to hold station. They're very comfortable out there at the moment. Kyokudo's got nothing to prove. Jonathan Spiteri is happy with P3 because he's in front of Denzel Agius, and Daniel Malia, well, his closest co-compatriot is absolutely nowhere near in the championship, so for it's benefit for all 3 of them to hold station.
Indeed it is. I think Denz has been doing a lot of saving recently. You can see that he's fallen into the kind of battle of Sama and Mifsford and Ayrton Birmingham. He's kind of in the position where, similar to Spiteri, he's trying to hold firm. He's trying to hold the guard down here, is he cannot afford to lose any more places. As much as he wants to save fuel, he cannot let any of these guys go through. That would be superbly crucial in his race. If he allows any of them through, he's going to be in a real hot place of bother. So he's got to try and maintain that position as crucially as possible. But when this Lexus is struggling as it has been a very, very difficult task to handle, and I'm pretty sure he's been practicing this for the last couple of days, weeks, months even potentially, because he knows how big of a circuit this is and just couldn't quite find the setup. Meanwhile, up at the top of the front here, 3 McLaren still leading the way, Malia staying within touching distance.
So John-Paul Vella now gap around about 0.2 of a second. So he's had a pretty poor 8th tour on this circuit, losing around about 0.8 of a second. So Kyokudo now, again, with nothing to prove, happy to continue this battle now as John-Paul Vella can't afford any more mistakes if he wants to maintain the lead of this race. Jonathan Spiteri losing the rear. Here comes Daniel Malia getting into the battle. So again, once again, Jonathan Spiteri getting on the power and just happy to get in there around the outside maybe. No, I don't think so, but he's looking to try and find the later apex. But Spiteri has that one covered, losing the rear ever so slightly again. Daniel Malia. Spiteri consistently losing the rear on this particular with this particular car on this particular circuit here. He's finding himself under pressure. Malia goes straight into the inside. No, again, electing to just hold station. So they're very happy and very content to just hold where they are, even when people are making mistakes. But Jonathan Spiteri, he might be setting great laps at the moment, to be fair, but he is not looking comfortable out there. And I'm wondering if he's thinking about this championship and maybe it's getting to his head a little bit.
It might do. It might do at this moment in time. It is just for now, he's got to really just stand his ground. And this is really heating up. Daniel Malia might have another go again, flashing in the wing mirrors here of the McLaren, but he's not going to go for a move. I'm not sure if it's just down into the Le Mans chicane. He knows that there is a big danger because it's such singular file in towards this chicane. You're seeing how just tight it is, and you have to be clear of the move if you want to be making one as well. So I think for now, Daniel Malia is really just trying to press on, but not make the move. He's playing it strategic. He's also using Spiteri to also save fuel as well. Now, speaking of saving fuel, look at John-Paul Vella. He's now also got into a spot where he is saving fuel because he is now all the way back at this battle when he was almost, 3 seconds in the clear air. He's now fallen right into the back of this one. So let's see how this commences. Oh, he's wide.
Wide, here comes Kyokudo, and there comes the champion of many seasons ago, now leading the race here in Daytona. John-Paul Vella felt the pressure. He might be feeling the more pressure. He goes for the dive into the horseshoe, and he's tried his hardest to maintain the lead of this race. He squeezes him off. Here comes Jonathan Spiteri for P2 in this battle out of the horseshoe. Here they come then, through the dogleg. They're going to go side by side. Spiteri holds station then in the end in P3, and they maintain the status quo, but one mistake, and that could absolutely open up this race between these four at the moment, who are looking to race so hard to take a race victory here. In the end, John-Paul Vella defended like a lion going into the international horseshoe, and he holds on to the lead of this race.
He does stay in the command of this race, but how long will that command be lasting? Because that was not an easy mistake to make there, John-Paul Vella. He didn't need to make that for sure. That just applied more pressure to him, allowed him to just not be able to save fuel because he's battling with another car. This is staying as strategic as ever, still heating up, still the cooker boils in this one, heating up the pressure in this one. The kettle is almost halfway there. I think it's just gone over halfway there, and at some point it's going to steam up and release. So Spiteri is going to have another go here at Kyokudo. Will he potentially go for an overtake in towards turn number 1 here, because there's going to be an open room of space approaching him now? He's trying to potentially go on that outside line, or does he decide to save fuel? Just watch that gap now.
Oh.
Here comes Kyokudo. Oh, 3 cars once again now. Will Malia also try and get involved in this one? He's going to try and hang it around the outside on this one. The Nissan's going to cut back inside, and they're now going to go side by side. Is this going to be the opportunity? Is this going to be the move for Daniel Vella? He's just going to sit in behind, and is this now playing into Denzel Adjus's view? No, it's not, because he's dropped to 6th. Crucial in this championship. That Lexus is falling to bits.
Everyone is trying to save fuel with the draft, and I think John-Paul Vella taking that move back, he started to realise maybe I need to get on a bit more of a fuel save, so he's getting off of the power going into turn 1, but whilst he's got 3 cars so tightly compacted, they are then getting caught out by a slow car right in front, and it's inviting some seriously interesting action as they're now approaching turn 7, and they're going through turn 8. Here comes Kyokudo. They're going side by side. John-Paul Vella was wide. They're side by side going through turn number 8, and this may be now a change to the lead of this race as Kyokudo and the man who won the championship all that time ago, is now leading a race for the first time in so many races, is the Daniel Vella, who now leads this race, bump draft by John Paul Vella, who now has to get used to the dirty air of another car for the first time in 11 laps. Now in that McLaren, they go side by side, but you can see there's already a little bit of a gap starting to form already with Kyokoto, and maybe Jonathan Spiteri may be aware of that, as is Daniel Malia. They may want to consider a move. Oh, straight off for the power though. Kyokoto is recognising he needs to save fuel. They'll pack back up once again. They're not even anywhere near turn number 1. Here comes John Paul Vella, changing the position as they go side by side once again. No, but they're maintaining position. They're changing positions. What's happening? Here comes Jonathan Spiteri round the outside of turn number 1. He switches it, but the gap is opening up. Here comes into the corner. Very well held from Daniel Vella, but John Paul Vella doesn't believe this one is done and dusted. Is he going to go around side? Oh, here comes Daniel Vella. Wow, what a move from the GTR. It's a triple overtake from the Nissan GTR, but he's gone wide. He's P3. John Paul Vella leads the race from Jonathan Spiteri, from Daniel Malia, from Daniel Vella. I cannot believe what I am seeing between these front four. And while this is all happening, who's in the background but Chris Summer, who's started to gain ground, now only 1 second behind.
Oh, this is starting to turn up the heat eventually, and now it is pretty much starting to get to the boiling point. We're at 20 minutes out of the 50 into this race. So still remember, half an hour remaining of this race. We still got another half an hour of all this action. So, yeah, James, you may want to calm your voice down just in case you break before the checkered flag. And Daniel Malia is now going to try and see if he can potentially get onto the back of those two McLarens. Rare mistake there from Kyokoto, because I remember just one of them went wide. One of them just got pile drived by the Nissan, and it was kind of Jonathan Spiteri, who is now leading this race into a position where he can just potentially take the lead, and this is going to be a Sunday drive for Spiteri, putting himself into a fantastic place. For Dens, it is the struggle bus, it seems like, for the Lexus. He is just clinging on there to 7th. He dropped back to that place behind Sam, behind Misford, and he is in a bit of a spot of bother. He knew this Lexus would not be able to handle the Daytona road course very well, but I didn't expect it to be this kind of dropping in performance. John Paul Vella once again tries to get on the back here of Spiteri. Will he try and go for the move? Nope, not this time around.
No, but Jonathan Spiteri losing the rear once again. Going through there, Kyokoto around the outside of that corner. That's trying to hold on for dear life. What a move around the outside of the International Horseshoe to get around Daniel Malia. Around that outside, the two Daniels scrapping it out for 3rd place, but Kyokoto knows he's got more pace. He was leading the race at one point. Then he fell off the podium. So he's now going to continue up that pressure, while Jonathan Spiteri is doing everything that he can to take this crown. As it stands so far, Denzel Adjust now down in P8. As it stands, not looking strong at all for the man 2nd place in this championship. And I would be a bit worried about the man in 3rd place in this championship if I were him, because of course he's in P4 and he's also battling for the race lead. So all we know, the man in P2 might end up struggling to hold on to P2 in the championship as a result. Can you believe it? Jonathan Spiteri now leading this race with 27 minutes to go in this race.
Indeed, still so much to play out for in this race, and it's kind of down to those pit stops in this one. And John Paul Vella has not got a great exit off that Le Mans chicane. He is still fighting away with his McLaren, and Kyokoto is going to go onto the back of him. Will we see 3 wide in towards turn number 1? Are we going to be seeing NASCAR style in towards turn number 1? Where will John Paul Vella go? He's just pushing and pushing and pushing, and so will Malia. He'll keep drafting and bump drafting on this one. No maneuvers here before we get into turn 1. Through goes Kyokoto, making that aggressive overtake. He's made it on one. Will he make it on another? Not quite. And Malia slips on through. Superb battle on that one, and that drops John Paul Vella down a place here. He's just continuing to hold on for dear life. Little bit of a slide from the rear of that Nissan, but that McLaren will just slide on through just because of how dynamic it is. And the McLarens are just showing why they are so superior around this Daytona circuit. They locked out the first 3 rows, and they're doing incredible things around here now.
Here comes a dive from Daniel Malia, getting the move done on John Paul Vella. I think it caught John Paul Vella napping a little bit after doing an excellent attack-defense attack sort of scenario here, and very textbook from John Paul Vella, but unfortunately caught napping by the Nissan GTR as Daniel Malia. Remember, in his own battle, if Denzel Agius keeps falling down the standings here, then he's got a chance of potentially getting runners-up in this championship. So he's got his own little battle to contend with at the moment as well. Kyokudo is starting to lose a little bit of ground to Jonathan Spiteri. While this is happening now, we've got two sets of cars. First, the second, and third and fourth are now starting to separate. Kyokudo getting closer and closer. A little bit of a bump draft going into the Le Mans chicane. No expectations of any overtakes through here. But if you line it up right out of this corner, as Kyokudo has done so pretty well by the looks of things, he will now go around turn number 12 and turn 13 with a lovely toe. And he may look for the move going into turn 1, turn 2. We will see. He gets closer and closer and closer. Now onto the front stretch around Daytona. For the 15th time, we'll take another tour around this circuit. We are halfway into this race, by the way, folks. He'll get closer and will he look for the move. He's going to get off of the power, I suspect, will Jonathan Spiteri, and that's exactly what he's done. They'll go side by side. Daniel Malia is looking and breathing down the neck. He's looking to get in there as well. He's bump drafting him into turn number 1. Can you believe it, going around here? Oh, he's going to squeeze him onto the grass, I think. Great move from Kyokudo to hold on, though. Daniel Malia now up to P2. Jonathan Spiteri was bleeding, is now down to P3.
Indeed, I think it's all going to be down to strategy. Before I talk about strategy, that's a wide moment there for Malia, but he has managed to plant the power in those rear tyres and has managed to start to romp down the road towards Kyokudo rather than fall into the clutches of Jonathan Spiteri. I wonder if John Paul Vella is going to potentially go for a move. Now, on to strategy. It's all about just trying to pit as late as you possibly can, because we're over halfway distance into this race and they're going to try and empty the tank as much as possible. You want to be getting down to less than 30 minutes, I'd say. So whatever you've got at the moment, try and make it last between the 30th and 35th minute of this race. That's when you'll be able to fill it up and maybe go that little bit more aggressive. So James, I think what we're seeing here is those second stints are going to be extra spicy once everyone knows exactly what they're dealing with, their fuel levels, their tyre levels, whatever levels they're trying to manage at this moment in time. And I really think that you're going to have to just pit as late as possible. Denzel Agius is still down there in 7th, but this is the main focus for the moment. John Paul Vella all over the back there is Spiteri. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of trading of paint by the end of this one.
Yes, definitely trading paint out there at the moment as well. John Paul Vella trading the paint of the bumper at the moment and getting closer and closer once again as these four looking to try and save as much fuel as they can. A bump draft between the three of them that they will continue to trade. We've got one person pitting. Clint Orland has had enough. He's now pitting off his old mediums with 5% of fuel remaining. So I'm expecting pit stops are going to be imminent here, and it'll probably be another set of mediums, maybe a set of softs. If anyone wants to try and gamble, if I was Denzel, I would be considering that actually. Oh, a little bit wide, actually, from 3rd and 4th place. That might give an opportunity for Daniel Malia to close down now on Kyokudo and not have to worry about that rampant McLaren as he's gone purple in the first sector. As Daniel Malia, he's starting to find the pace and he's trying to close down the gap on his co-compatriot with the same name in Daniel Vella in P1. This is getting particularly spicy. We should be heading... Oh, look at that. Jonathan Spiteri again losing the rear. He's not comfortable out there, but he's got the pace. That's the critical thing. What is going to happen when the pit stops arrive, because I think it's imminent.
It is imminent, and you see there a purple sector there for Daniel Malia, so he's still going as fast as ever. Daniel Vella just continue to push on forward and see if he can potentially win this famed race. Clint Orland looks like he's come into the pits as well, so he is filling up the tank to over 80%. I wonder if you're Denzel Agius, do you fill it up to maybe the mid 80s when you make your pit stop, just because you know you've got you want to be able to push onto those tyres. You're basically trying to finish in the top 2 at this moment in time, maybe even top 1 depending on how it's going to go. But I think it's kind of a case in terms of the top 4 of who's going to be the first one to blink. It's not going to be Kyokudo, it's going to be Kyokudo. He's going to be the first one to make a stop, and they all follow in. They're the top 4 all blink and follow in, and Denzel Agius follows them in as well. He has saved the most fuel. Looks like 2% there for Potsy. David Misford
that is going to be the least of these guys, as well as John Paul Vella, and 8% there for Denzel Adjie. So he's going to be maybe about a second to half a second less in the pit stops, unless he wants to fill his tank pretty much almost to the brim. The tyres are changed here at the World Centre of Racing, and for sure the World Centre of Racing is going to go absolutely crazy with the amount of racing we're going to have next.
Jonathan Spiteri down in P7, but of course he's obviously a little bit further back in the pit stop, so he's got plenty more fuel in versus everyone else. Daniel Malia 54, Kyokudo 59. Daniel Malia actually might be in prime position here. I'm wondering if people are going to leave for softs as well, actually, because we've seen that Clint Orland has left for a fresh set of soft tyres. Here they go. It is a set of soft tyres as they're leaving the pit lane. Daniel Malia P2, Jonathan Spiteri P3, John Paul Vella, Chris Sammett's got out in front of Denzel Adjie as well, so Denzel now up to P6 as a result of these pit stops as they all leave the pit lane going through International Horseshoe. Leader Daniel Malia from Daniel Vella, from Jonathan Spiteri, from John Paul Vella, from Chris Samet, from Denzel Adjie. This is it now, folks. It's 20 minutes left in the season and it's all going to be about pure pace now. Has Denzel Adjie got enough to at least get anywhere near Jonathan Spiteri, put him under pressure, maybe force a mistake, because every position's going to count. As I said, P7 is what Denzel Adjie needs for against Jonathan Spiteri if he was to win this race. It's a tall order.
It is going to be a tall order, but he's got to just push on now. It's going to be a mix of just saving fuel and also just trying to push this to the end. He needs to be challenging that top group for sure. That jump on David Mifsud there down in P7, I think that's going to be crucial. But that does make me question, did David Mifsud maybe overfuel here? Kyokudo Racing already now on the back here of Daniel Malia. So it's going to be Vella versus Malia in this one. John Paul Vella also trying to get into the wing mirrors here of Jonathan Spiteri. He is gaining a good amount here, and he maybe might be able to go over the move unless they are all starting to lift and coast here. Someone who's not lifting and coasting here is Kyokudo and Daniel Vella. Vella to the inside. Superb move. Will he make it stick on that inside line? He may just lean on the side of the Nissan, and that is a super move. Trying to get the traction down. We know the Nissan has got good traction, but it's going to be Daniel Vella to put himself back in the lead here at Daytona. Superb.
Superb indeed. He'll bump draft him going through International Horseshoe. Jonathan Spiteri going a little bit wide in P3, so John Paul Vella will try to continue the pressure, but the front four are still battling so hard. Here's Denzel Adjie. He's racing actually against David Mifsud at the moment. Now, Mifsud has had some internet connection issues in this race, so he's got a little bit of a lagging, as you can see, in that Williams-inspired Rothmans Porsche 911. So Denzel Adjie would be very wise to get a little bit of a gap between him and the lagging car behind, and he tries to chase down Chris Samet, who's actually, again, this race has very much been the epitome of his season, hasn't it, Adam? Very, very fair to middling, not towards the front, but always in and around the ballpark.
Indeed, it's been impressive to see what he's been up to as well, but you know, he's just not been quite at that forefront. I'd love to have been able to see what he could do at the forefront. I think that he's a very good driver, very calculated driver, and can definitely just etch a little bit more, and maybe we'll see an extra force in his game come next season. He'll have that experience, and for sure he will want to just open that up potentially next season, maybe be in that top group. It will be interesting to see how next season goes, but you're just seeing here the fuel saving games that are taking place now. Because remember, this fuel cannot be absolutely romped to the end. There's still some saving that has to be going on, and you're seeing that now with Daniel Malia. They go over the line at 146.812 for Daniel Vella. They head their way into turns 1 and turns 2. It's starting to get quite tasty at the front too, but will Spiteri and John Paul Vella have a reply?
That is going to be the question. We have 17 minutes left in this race, in this season of the Gran Turismo 7 Asphalt Kings here. This the championship has shown from start to finish that it has been one of the sort of tightest championships in Gran Turismo 7, and in the end this race is just the very epitome of what this championship has been all about. It might have been leading between the two drivers currently in P3 and P6 in this race, but anyone has been in the ballpark of potentially winning this race here, a race this season. Be interesting to see what is going to be continued to be formulated in Gran Turismo 7 here at Velocity Esports. Lap 19 of what we expect to be 28 in this race. As I said, about 15 minutes, a little bit over 15 minutes left in this race here. It gives us a chance to continue to reflect on what has been a really, really impressive championship from every single person taking part. Even this man right here, Daniel Vella, a previous champion in this particular realm, but takes a return. In fact, he's gone a little bit wide there. I'm wondering if he's going to get called out by the stewards. No, not on this occasion. He's going to be very careful about not getting called out there, because it is going to be damaging if you have to serve your penalty going down the back straight. So Jonathan Spiteri closing down on Daniel Malia, but after the pit stops initially, Adam, looks like gaps are just starting to form, but I anticipate that's going to close up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that will do. I think these guys are knowing what's on the line. They know there's a fantastic race win that is up for grabs here, and they're not going to want to give up. Neither of them. I think they know they've got to do a little bit of fuel saving. I think that's a guarantee. But I think that these drivers know what's on the line. I think the only one that will really take a little bit of caution to the wind is going to be Jonathan Spiteri in that podium place. But even then, a podium place would be absolutely fantastic. The form has been a little bit rocky so far. It's been fourth, first in the last 4 races. So, you know, it's not quite been spectacular, but it's got it enough to be over the line. You know, his lowest position has been 4th all season. So if he does manage to finish behind John Paul Vella, he will just be equaling his worst placed finishes, and those worst finishes have come at St. Croix, where we know he struggled in the latter stage with tyres, and Deep Forest, which was a very difficult circuit to go about, and where all leading championship contenders have issues.
So we're keeping an eye out on Denzel Agius as well, and this is going to be an opportunity for him to reflect as well, because he's always been within the ballpark of this particular championship, and even as far back as the very first round of this championship, all the way back at Suzuka, that Lexus and him behind it looks so fast, taking the pole position in very unexpected circumstances. A man not known for his qualifying pace took pole position and converted that to a race win. There'll be lots of learnings to take for Denzel Agius in this particular championship, albeit, of course, it will be potentially a runners-up spot for him, but it's all going to be about what he does next time in these Gran Turismo 7 championships. There is a championship awaiting this man at the moment. He's got the pace. He just needs to improve that qualifying performance, and he's going to be there. It looks like we may have lost Adam just briefly there, so we'll see if we can get his microphone back in just a second. But what we will say is Chris Samet is also in the ballpark here, as he's just trying to maintain his own pace here, around about 4 seconds, separating himself now from the likes of the front 4, who have now just started once again to close up their own little bit of a gap now as they carry themselves around the circuit. Question is, though, Adam, you know, it's definitely not all set in stone here who's going to be winning this particular race, because these 4 have been hammer and tongue all the way through.
No, you know, there's still going to be many opportunities left in this race. You know, it's not all set and done. I think that, you know, that front 2 definitely looks so strong. You know, I think Daniel Vella definitely has been super strong all the way through. He's been managing himself, but there has been time where he looked a little bit maybe over aggressive, but in kind of the time where the cameras may have been away from him, be very, very preserved and know what he needs to be doing. The speed, of course, when it's full chat for him, it's been some of the superb pace. But Daniel Malia has also been managing himself. You know, there were times where he was sitting 4th and wasn't sure where he would end up, but of course he's had experience in that race lead, and he now sits in 2nd. So we'll have to see how that all comes about. But I think for now these drivers are just working on fuel saving as well before that kind of go time, which is probably going to be in the next minute and a half, I'd say here, James, because, you know, there's not going to be a lot of time left in this one before they start sprinting out for the finish. And John Paul Vella is unfortunately not going to be with us, because he's now currently sitting in 4th and decided to fall a little bit further back than he would have liked to in this one.
maybe the soft tyres just not working in the favour of the pole sitter of this particular race as he's starting to fall back, and what is now becoming a bit of a three-way fight for the race victory here between the two Daniels of Daniel Vella of Daniel Malia, and of course the championship leader and let's be honest, champion in elect in Jonathan Spiteri. So we're just a little bit over 10 minutes to go in this race. Jonathan Spiteri continues to put the pressure on the Nissan GTR. I'd like to put my thoughts here in what about a championship it has actually been for this man in the GTR, in Daniel Malia, because he is definitely going to be one to watch in other GT7 championships. He has come on leaps and bounds with every passing championship. Of course, his first race win back in Belgium, if you remember, he takes the pole and takes the race victory at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And again, real pace in that Pennzoil Penske-inspired Nissan GTR, as it looks like Kyoto is actually slowing down here, and I'm wondering if he's actually just trying to begin more of a fuel saving measure and actually going side by side with the Nissan GTR. Jonathan Spiteri will take the toe of the pair of them. They'll continue to go side by side as they head down the front stretch, but Daniel Malia will be around the outside and then will take the position as he heads through across the start finishing line. Kyoto going side by side once again as they head through into turn number 1. Who's going to have the inside of the edge going into turn number 1? It looks like to be Malia, as Kyoto will hold on and that the two Daniels will switch position, and once again Malia in the GTR now leading this race from Vella and then from Jonathan Spiteri, champion-elect.
Indeed, and do you know what that means, James? Well, I was going to put it in chat, but in our little Discord chat, but I'll say it right now on camera. Malia is second place in that championship. If you can win this race, you'll be on 139 points to Denzel Agius's 137. That would be a superb way, I think, for him to end his end this kind of championship force, to get a second win of the season, to put himself second in the standings. And as you say, I think that this kind of doubles down on what you were saying here, James. The fact that Daniel Malia will be potentially a champion in waiting in the future. He just needs to string a season together. He had one of the best forms between. He had one of the best forms during the mid part of the season, but that actually went to Birmingham. But he did have some fantastic form with a first, a third, and a second for Spa, Sunqua, and Red Bull Ring. But Kyoto will not want to give this up. Here comes Daniel Vella. Will he potentially try and return the favour?
Well, here comes the other Daniel once again. So Daniel Malia now under pressure in the lead of this race against Daniel Vella, the previous champion, looking to just have a real bit of fun here. He's got nothing to lose here in Daytona tonight, but certainly Malia absolutely does, because of course he really ideally could do with the race victory here tonight, in the hope that Denzel Agius falls into the depths of Mifsford behind him. There is potentially P2 on the cards as it stands, a little bit wide going through turn number 2, and Kyoto will keep up the pressure going into the International Horseshoe. Here they approach that corner right now. They'll hold station by the looks of things. No late breakers on this occasion, but a little bit of a gap opening up as Malia does go a little bit wide, but no opportunity for any kind of overtaking just yet. Happy to keep doing that one though, Jonathan Spiteri will say, because of course he's going to keep up with these two and hope for the battle for the race victory here tonight with just a little bit over 7 minutes to go.
Indeed, still multiple opportunities coming in the way of these drivers. Look at Jonathan Spiteri. I wonder if he's turned the wicks up for now, because he is now starting to climb onto the back of this battle, really trying to make it calculated as well. Do I want to go for the win, or do I just want to hold back? He knows that he's secured a championship here. It's Denzel Agius, I've just noticed, it falls behind Daniel Mifsud there for P7. It's really not worked out for the Lexus, and he's actually now under pressure here from Clint Orland. Will the Porsche go past the Lexus? It would be one of probably the worst finishes to a championship here for him, because as I said, this is the Lexus was not really fit and made for purpose of this circuit, and he will fall to his worst race position in the championship, whether that be a 7th or an 8th. But if he can put it to 6th, well, it will match it. But
this is kind of the showing of the Lexus. But here he goes. Is he going to try the outside of Mitford? Because that is going to be a bit of a laggy Porsche. You can see, you know, it's not easy in the gaming world compared to real life.
If my math works it out right, as it stands so far, Denzel Adjius still holds on to second place in this championship by one singular point. I believe he's on 135. Malia, with his race lead at the moment, is on 137, although he is battling with the other Daniel at the moment as they're going side by side through here. A little bit of a tank slapper by the looks of things from Malia has invited Jonathan Spiteri around the outside onto the grass for the McLaren. He looks for it. Oh, door shut immediately as they go through into the West Horseshoe, and no immediate overtake there. But Daniel Malia will now be understanding that Denzel Adjius is actually losing considerable ground here. He knows he needs this race victory, and all of a sudden, going for the race victory actually looks a little bit more promising with just a little bit over 5 minutes to go. What is the mindset of Malia right now? Does he go for it, use the race pace that he knows he's got in that GTR in the hope that potentially the runners-up spot is there, or does he hang fire and say, I'm just going to consolidate this? I don't want to risk it. We'll see. Is he getting closer? He bump drafts once again. The other Daniel Vella going through into the Le Mans chicane. They'll go left. They'll go right. They'll go right again. Then they'll go left as they head through into turn number 12 and 13, and the bump drafts will begin. Jonathan Spiteri has a 1 second penalty. That could pose critical nature if he wants to try and get the race victory, but he'll now be forced to decelerate at the next penalty line, which is just before he gets onto the front stretch. Is this now going to be a front two finale? I wonder. Here we go. 4.5 to go.
Indeed, and 4 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 2. Here we go for the final time in this one, because this is the final race of the season, and Daniel Malia is all over Daniel Vella in excuse me, in hopes for the win of this one. They're both racing drivers. They're both sim racing drivers. They will both be going after that victory, because I think both of them will want to. Win on the road course here at Daytona, one of the most famous racetracks in the world, let alone in the United States. Here, I think Kyokudo Racer will be making a statement potentially towards next season, but Daniel Malia is hoping to be the one that kind of rounds off this season on the best one, and maybe send a message to the rest of the field heading into the next season of the Asphalt Kings. Of course, we will mix up the grids, we'll mix up the competition, we'll mix up the format and the points, and go again the next time around. We now see Daniel Malia down on towards the next part of this one, onto the back stretch. It looks like Kyokudo of Daniel Vella will be going defensive, as we now see that Nissan trying to pull out once again, but doesn't seem to be working this time around. We will get what seems to be 2 more laps in this one, James.
2 more laps indeed before we see the crowning glory, as it stands, of Jonathan Spiteri down in P3, who is just, I think, now going to have to consolidate P3. There's no point putting any pressure. He knows he's got the championship in the bag. Why put that pressure on now to catch up if you don't need to, especially with your tyres now around about 50% wear on that back right tyre. Kyokudo and Daniel Malia still battling hard here, so both of the Daniels battling going into turn number 1. Daniel Malia will certainly go, and I think Vella was caught a little bit napping there, to be honest with you, as they approach the horseshoe. They'll go side by side. They'll continue to be side by side as they head into the horseshoe. Advantage surely to the McLaren, though, going into the corner as they continue to go side by side. Switch back, but caught a very well shut closed door from Kyokudo, and Daniel Vella able to hold on to the lead of this race from a fantastic little bit of defensive driving from the McLaren, but the GTR is effectively pushing him around the circuits, going for the late breaker into the West Horseshoe, and caught Daniel Vella completely napping. Malia retakes the lead of this race. Well, this is happening. Jonathan Spiteri just starting to close up once again. 1.5 to go.
Yep, not too long left on this one here around Daytona, and it's been a fantastic little tussle between these two fantastic racing drivers. But it's now starting to get to the bitter end where you just have to send a move at some point. Will there be a bit of fuel saving because they're starting to flash red now, which indicates the low fuel in each of these racing drivers? It will be an interesting way to finish this one, but I think that we are going to be safe till the end. We have 1 minute remaining left on the clock here, and Kyoko has a half a second penalty. That is going to be it. That may just wrap it up here, James.
I thought I saw him go a little bit wide coming out of the turn 11 complex of the Le Mans chicane, and that as very, very happily smiling ear to ear this man Daniel Malia will be as he starts what will be the final lap of this race, the final lap of this 4th season of the Velocity Esports Asphalt Kings Championship. And what has been absolutely fabulous from this man, who is clearly setting the precedent, he's sending a statement out to the people in Gran Turismo 7 that he is going to be one to watch in his Pennzoil Nissan GTR maybe next time out. But he's shown that he's got the consistency now. Can he convert that later on in this championship when we have a consideration of a new championship later down the line? Into the West Horseshoe he will go. He knows that he's got confidence. He doesn't have to worry. 1.2 seconds behind is the man and the previous champion. What we've got behind there is another champion in waiting in P3. It's such a poignant nature, this one. You've got your future in front, you've got the past just behind, and you've got the present just behind that one. It is such a poignant picture as they now go around the complex of turn 12 rather, and turn number 13, the Le Mans chicane. Well, this could be another spot of bother if they take it too wrong, but no doubt these three drivers now have got enough experience. They understand the nature of this particular championship. They understand the nature of this circuit. The final lap line is now flashing. The checkered flag is now waving. The future is waiting for you, my friend, in the Nissan GTR. But one person I want to keep an eye out on is the man in P3, please, Mr. Director, because from the very first triumph in Kyoto, Jonathan Spiteri carved his name into this championship. Corner by corner, race by race, he's fought his way to this very last moment. And as he comes across the final turn, destiny awaits as Jonathan Spiteri crosses the line, and the coronation will be complete, and he wears his crown as the Asphalt King, Jonathan Spiteri, champion of the world.
What an amazing performance there. He will be absolutely delighted. I'm sure there will be absolute joy in the eyes of Jonathan Spiteri. I wish we had fireworks here at Daytona because it would make it even more better. It will be John Paul Vella to come home in P4. It will be Kristen Sammers who rounds off a spectacular season for him. He'll hope to maybe get in on the lead battles in season 5. With in P5 there, it's going to be Potsy, Ben Denz, and then De Bono there in PA. But wow, what a season. But can we speak about Daniel Malia? Because wowee, he has had a fantastic end to that one, and what a fantastic season. I don't know why it says Kyoko there. I think we may have potentially missed something. Has he run out of fuel? I'll be very, very shocked if he's run out of fuel.
He ran out of fuel as he came across the line, as far as I'm aware. And if that is the situation, that is really disappointing stuff, because we set himself up for what an amazing set of events. So he's in P11 now, is Daniel Malia. So we'll get some confirmation on what's happened. But if he's run out of fuel and he's now excluded from the standings, that would be bitterly disappointing. So we'll get some clarification on that one. Brandon's getting some confirmation for us on this one, because I don't believe, even if you run out of fuel, if you come across the line, you've still got some resemblance of fuel that will be tested virtually. I don't know, but we'll get some clarity on that one. One thing that we know for sure, though, is that we do have now a new world champion, a new Asphalt King. And it's the man of the moment, Jonathan Spiteri. As I said, all the way as far back as Kyoto, he already made a staple that he was going to be fighting for this championship against Denzel Agius. It was going to go the way of the man who was leading this championship for such a long time. Denzel Agius, though, from an individual race performance, not a very good race from him, and that is the reason why he's not champion tonight. He's got learnings to take.
He has. I think a lot of these drivers will go into the winter break with a lot of thoughts on their mind because these were very, very challenging champion. This is a very challenging championship. A lot of challenging races has been thrown at them, but of course they'll take their learnings. The previous champions have that experience of winning this, and they'll take it on the chin. And I'm sure they will go again. I think this also kind of enlightens us for next season. So when we do see Asphalt Kings just get slapped on the calendar in our Velocity Esports Velocity Esports racing kind of calendars. I think that will be a very exciting one to really look up to. Especially with the amount of championships we've had in the past. Some of them are even on this grid right now, and it's been incredible to see. We've had 3 champions, that 4th coming for John, of course, Jonathan Spiteri. So it will be interesting to see who will maybe claim a 5th because it's still so open, and consistency has been so key in this championship. It's just kind of gone to show as well. You need consistency. One bad result and that might be it for you. That might be the season pretty much over. You might just be finishing second best by a point in that one round where you got a bad race may have just cost you. But wow, we are very much set for a fantastic season 5 for sure.
So just got some clarity on what happened. So I've just looked at the replay myself, and what's ended up happening is Daniel Malia came across the line with no fuel. He'd ran out of fuel in his car, so he was slowing up so rapidly against Kyokudo and then against Jonathan Spiteri. Now, the final result as he came across the start-finishing line was that he was 0.9 seconds in front of Jonathan Spiteri, but Kyokudo did manage to get the jump. So Daniel Malia, again, a testament to the fact that he is a future driver in waiting, but there are learnings to take, and one of them is about how to manage your fuel in that scenario. Unfortunately, he got caught off guard. So your race winner tonight is, as documented, Daniel Vella, who wins tonight. And second place in the end goes to Daniel Malia in P2, and then P3 to Jonathan Spiteri. What a fabulous race and what a fabulous season it has been, Adam. We've got to take a moment before we wrap it up here tonight to reflect on this. It's been an 8-round championship, which has shown some unbelievable pace from so many different drivers out there, and it has shown that this championship can be blown wide open by just one individual's performance. But in the end, the consistency is what ended up becoming key for Jonathan Spiteri, who is now crowned as the Asphalt King of season number 4. We have no consistent Asphalt Kings either. 4 different championship winners this as well. We may have a 5th if Malia decides to get his inroads and put enough fuel in his car. But the bottom line is it's a mixed bag of a championship.
Indeed, and that's what we love about the Asphalt Kings Championship. We've had so many different varieties of kind of championships. I believe there was a time where we had, I think, was it full-on GT3s? It might have been something along those lines. But then we had full JDMs for season 3. So it really does kind of differ and change. And of course, we had the GTs this time around. So goodness knows what we could have for season 5. I do hope that everyone back at Velocity does cook up an absolute storm, cook up something interesting, something different. And I'm really excited. This is going to be a championship that is forever going to be one to really look out for. And one that kind of guarantees opportunities, carnage, consistency. And it's been fantastic to watch all the way from start to finish.
Yeah, what has Velocity Esports got cooking up, though, Adam, I wonder? Well, I can tell you. With our co-contributors over at Hyundai, Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand, Garage, Level Academy, and The Specialist, me and you are taking a hike over to Formula One in just a few days' time. I believe on Monday we're heading over to the V1 Malta Championship for the start of their championship. I'm also going to be alongside Jake Sperry as well on Thursday nights as well for the Acer ACC Championship. So that should be an absolute cracker off the back of this one. But we wrap up the Asphalt Kings Championship with Jonathan Spiteri with the crown on his head. What a magnificent season it has been. This crown may be done, but we've certainly got more races to contend with across all of the various platforms here at Velocity Esports. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Ta-ra.